Phase 4 of the MCU is going strong. We've got new shows and movies back to back, while there are new announcements happening all the time, along with some very pesky little leaks. Now we've got a special new show that's playing homage to the classic horror movies of Hollywood, with its own twist of Marvelness. In this video, let's talk about the director of Werewolf by Night addressing Blade and Moon Knight Cameo Possibilities. Starting off with the Supernatural Men. So now that we've got Blade's voice in the MCU in Eternals, and we got a whole show for Moon Knight that we absolutely loved, it's time to see what these two characters could bring to other shows and movies, right? Considering we're not getting the second season of Moon Knight anytime soon, or maybe never, we've got to make do with his appearance in other shows and movies. And Blade isn't exactly coming soon either. Gosh, do we have to wait for these to show up again? And the director of Werewolf by Night, of course, knows that. Who doesn't? The people at Marvel Studios probably laugh at our misery, wondering how much more they can torture us. We have Werewolf by Night in the MCU now, and fans are going crazy thinking that these three characters are all supernatural genres. It isn't too far-fetched to think that they could or should team up. Come on. By the way, Werewolf by Night is being praised by the first reactions, and now the public too. We're very thankful for this Marvel Studios special coming just in time for Halloween. Say whatever you want to say about them teasing and taunting us. They also know how to please us, huh? One of the common compliments is how Werewolf by Night tells a self-contained story that doesn't rely on other characters, cameos, or ties to the larger Marvel Cinematic Universe to tell a story that people would want to watch. Next up, a contained story. In an interview, the director of Werewolf by Night, Michael Giacchino, opened up about how heavily they considered having other Marvel characters cameo in Marvel's first special presentation. Turns out, not very heavily. He said that cameos never really came up. They talked a little bit about Blade, but in the end, it was like, you know what, if we're looking at this, and I always described this as an episode of The Twilight Zone, you know, let's keep it contained. And they did. Do we really care though? This is one night in the life of Jack and Elsa, so let's see what that's like. And the director also knows that everyone searches for connectivity, and how they want a certain person here and there, and want something where they go crazy watching a cameo, or a reference, or a subtle little Easter egg. But the director said they wanted to do the thing his way. We're glad that they did it this way, because come on, we know that it does exist in the same world as all the other places where Captain America and Blade and Moon Knight exist in. So let's just give this character a story of his own, like they did with Moon Knight. And remember how much we loved that show? Maybe let's give these guys a chance to do their own thing and see what they come up with. They decided not to worry about the cameos right now, and that they'll deal with that maybe someday. Lastly, no cameos, bros. So for right now, they just wanted to tell the story of one night in the life of these characters, and hopefully something that we could just drop in on, not having seen anything else, and just enjoy it for what it was. This show is reaching all the people who haven't even watched a single movie or show in the MCU. They could enjoy this little horror treat. Although it doesn't seem like Blade was even a major intention for Werewolf by Night. This is the second known time the character has been considered for an appearance, only to make the cut. Eternals was originally going to show Mahershala Ali as Blade in its credit scene, but eventually only used the character's voice. Boy oh boy did we go mad just for that voice in the end credit scene. Imagine seeing Ali in person one day. We'll combust for sure. And even though Moon Knight was actually introduced in the original Werewolf by Night comics, it doesn't sound like Giacchino was excited to stuff him into the story here. So no Blade or Moon Knight, and lots of Jack and Elsa and the horror movie's homage. Laura Donnelly joined the Marvel Cinematic Universe as the Elsa character Giacchino mentioned, with Gael Garcia Bernal joining the fold as Jack. And Jack is our Werewolf by Night. They couldn't have picked a better cast in our opinion, because the two have amazing chemistry that doesn't even make us miss the characters that aren't in the show with their teeny cameos. We now know what Moon Knight and Blade's future is within the new special MCU show, but now let's take a break from that and talk about some other happenings in the Marvel Universe. In related news, firstly, Man-Thing, the lovable monster, could show up in Loki Season 2. He's now in the MCU after years of teases in shows and movies like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Thor Ragnarok. This iconic Marvel hero finally showed up in the recently released Halloween special, Werewolf by Night. Man-Thing debuted in Savage Tales #1 in 1971 and was created by writers Stan Lee, Roy Thomas, and Jerry Conway, and artist Gray Morrow. Man-Thing is now becoming a huge star, and there are lots of places where we could see him again. Currently, Loki is the only live-action MCU Disney Plus series to get a second season. Well, duh, Tom Hiddleston. Season 2 will deal with Loki and the new TVA, dealing with the result of the events of Season 1 when Sylvie killed He Who Remains and broke the sacred timeline to create the MCU multiverse. And then they also got to deal with the threat of Kang the Conqueror, who was teased at the end with his humongous statue right in front of us. So why do we think he could be in Loki 2? Well, in the comics, Man-Thing is the guardian of the Nexus of Realities, protecting his Earth from multiversal threats. That has Loki written all over it. With it leaning into multiversal threats very heavily, it's possible that Man-Thing would team up with the God of Mischief and become an unlikely supporting player in the series as a full-time protector of the MCU multiverse. And we can't wait to see that happen. Next up, Keanu Reeves reveals his dream superhero role in the MCU. Recently, Keanu Reeves went on the Jimmy Kimmel Show to talk about his new comic book, Berserker, and we found an interesting Marvel-related tidbit. It's a huge surprise that Keanu, the megastar, hasn't joined the MCU or the DC universe yet. Fans have been wondering if he'll join Marvel and when he does, who's he gonna be? So on the show, he actually revealed to us which Marvel superhero he'd like to play. Reeves developed and wrote the superhero comic Berserker, about an immortal warrior fighting through the ages, which will be adapted as an anime as well as a live-action film with Keanu in the lead himself. He said on the show that he lost his nerd card when he got older, but when he was younger, he was pretty nerdy. Well, you just wrote a comic book, so have you really lost it, Mr. Keanu? We highly doubt it. When he was 10 years old, he wanted to be Ghost Rider. It's no secret that Marvel head Kevin Feige has talked to Keanu about a possible MCU appearance on more than a few instances, and admitted that the studio wants to figure out the right way for him to be in the MCU. But shouldn't this be sort of an opening for him to play Ghost Rider? We think so. Lastly, ripple effects of the cancellation of the Accords. We know what a huge problem those Accords were. They were the reason we actually got to see Cap and Tony fight quite a lot. We still haven't forgotten, but now they're just gone, thanks to the new episode of the Sokovia Accords, where we learned from the mouth of Daredevil that they've been repealed. But what's the aftermath of that? Even though they haven't been a big deal in Phase 4, and them getting cancelled isn't a surprise. They were a huge deal in the Infinity Saga. Maybe Thunderbolts will fully explore what their absence will cause. The team's existence could possibly be a result of the government wanting superheroes to control again. With the Accords gone, no longer can they simply own everyone who puts on a mask. The next best thing would be a personal Suicide Squad type force, right? Without the Accords, shouldn't the Avengers be up and running again? Maybe the new Cap movie will explore that. That's it from our side for today. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, or if you have any questions or thoughts about Werewolf by Night director addressing Blade and Moon Knight cameo possibilities, let us know in the comments below. See you in the next one.